Hi everyone, welcome to the latest edition of Pro Wrestling Defined. I'm Jonathan O'Dwyer, and another great guest on the show today, a veteran of all the top territories in the 80s, from world-class championship wrestling in Texas, Kansas City, Puerto Rico, and an absolute Mexican wrestling legend, Salomon Grundy, Tim Hagood. How are you doing today, sir?
Good, thank you, man. How are y'all?
Oh, doing great, man. Really good to have you on the show. Thanks so much for coming on.
Thanks for inviting me.
All good, man. All good. Great to have you on. So let's start at the beginning. Talk about your background and were you a wrestling fan? How did you end up gravitating towards getting into the wrestling business?
Well, my aunt would take me to wrestling when I was, 2-3 years old in Lubbock, when it was the Amarillo territory. The Funks, Harley Race, Murdoch, Rhodes, all the
amazing talent.
Yeah, great. They're at the Lubbock Coliseum, Fair Park Coliseum in Lubbock. Even Old Man Funk was still working some.
Wow.
And I still remember Harley Race and Terry Funk having a chain match. That's
wow.
Yeah, so that's where I got started. Sometimes as a kid you grow out of it, and sometimes you never do.
Evidently, I haven't either.
Yeah, no, it just stays with you, And so, and Ricky Romero, Mil Mascaras, who later I worked with in Mexico. That's like, when you actually go and sit in the dressing room with them, you're like, okay, I'll pinch myself now,
Yeah, definitely.
So,
did you ever see him back then without the mask? Because he used to wear the mask even in the dressing rooms and stuff, didn't he?
Well, I have okay, so when I worked with him, I was 505 pounds. So he was my partner, but like the undercard, first and second match would hang around in the back. And the showers in Mexico, some of the places, they're like where they fight chickens. I'll say that.
Okay, yeah.
So the showers are small. And he would tell me, because those guys would try to get pictures of him. And I was so big that I could block the whole door. So he would have me stand in front of the door and block it, and he would take a shower. Yeah, because he didn't want nobody taking pictures. But I met him in Mexico City, actually on a plane. I didn't even know who he was, really. There was a bunch, I just got there, and they sent us close to Guatemala. And there was like him and his brother, Dos Caras, Canik, El Santo,
Wow.
Hijo de Santo. I didn't even know him. I didn't even know who those guys were. And so the same guys showed up in the dressing room that were on the plane, and me not speaking any Spanish at all when I got there. So it was kind of, interesting. But yeah, he was all those guys are very protective of their mask. They don't, if you're not on the top card, you'll never see them take it off.
Definitely.
That's how they are. But, yeah, anyway, I started in 86 in Dallas with the Von Erichs. I know you're a Von Erich fan, right?
Yeah. I love that territory. I think it was awesome, and
Yeah,
the Von Erichs themselves were great.
It was a awesome territory. They bring in everybody. Major star went through Sportatorium. Back in the 80s. even in the 90s. Like I first got there, Austin was training at the Sportatorium with Chris Adams.
Yeah.
And, so, and the Freebirds came back. I even tagged me and Buddy Jack Roberts against Kevin and Bruiser Brody.
Yeah, I had that in my notes actually that you worked with Brody. I'd say that must have been quite interesting.
Oh yeah, it was interesting. He kicked me so hard I drove back to San Antonio and I didn't even know it.
Oh wow, Jesus.
And I sat in my house for I guess like 2 days before I realized I don't even know how I got home. I had a yeah. He was he was a beast, man. He was pretty, and I was pretty green back then. So, he kicked me with those boots so hard, man. It was pretty devastating. Not that I don't even remember finishing the match or nothing. Me and
Yeah.
Buddy just walked back. Buddy goes, "Are you okay?" And I go, "I don't know. Where are we?" So, yeah, that was my experience with Brody. And so, but he was like that with a lot of guys.
Yeah, even Undertaker was talking about that recently. I think his first televised match actually was with Brody in Texas, and Brody roughed him up quite a bit as well and gave him that big
Yeah.
boot, and he didn't know where he was afterwards.
Well,
But that's
yeah,
kind of what made him at the same time was being so kind of solid and ferocious as he was in a sense, wasn't it?
yeah. You couldn't. I mean, the harder you hit him, the better he liked it. He was one of those guys, and as a young guy, if you're working with him, you're kind of starstruck. So you're there, and it's your first major event, and you're working with Kevin and Brody and Buddy Jack, and you're just you're in La La Land anyway. So because you've seen those guys all your life, and you're just kind of lost until that first somebody knocks you into next Thursday, and then you're going, oh, I am here. It's. I mean, me and Undertaker started at the same time. You know, he had
Wow.
a he had a flat top haircut, man. Yeah,
Yeah. He
yeah.
was the
He's a
Punisher or something like that back then, I think, wasn't
yeah,
he? Or
yeah,
some
yeah,
some gimmick like that, I think. Yeah.
yeah. He was actually he was working at a flea market for $10 a match.
Wow.
Yeah,
That was the
yeah,
dues you paid back then, wasn't it?
yeah. It was. I mean, you just wanted to start. You didn't care. You just to get in. But one of the nicest guys, man, you'll ever meet. He's just really down to earth. Just a great guy. Travel with him and a little bit, and then they sent us to Tennessee with Jarrett. Uh, Me and Scott Steiner were tag champions there.
Wow. Did you actually get to work with Jerry while you were in Tennessee?
Oh yeah, yeah. I
How was
worked
he?
with a little bit with Jerry and Dundee and
Oh.
Jeff and Colonel Parker or John Studd.
Yeah.
Uh, that was a good experience. And then right after that, I went to Mexico. So that's when we started Wild West Wrestling,
Mm.
and then it moved to Dallas. Well, they did something with the Von Erichs. I didn't catch the whole thing, and then they had that training school, so a lot of the students got to work in the sportatorium, and I just was fortunate enough to be one,
Yeah.
and so, but I worked with Iceman a lot, King Parsons, and
Parsons, yeah.
Kamala.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Yeah, he was
Kamala,
great.
and then Eric Embry, Al Perez.
Yeah, I
So
was just watching you actually. There's a video of you working together on YouTube actually against Al Perez. What was he like to work with?
yeah. He's him and Gary were like that was really my very first match there,
Wow.
and so Gary came and he says, "Well, you're gonna have to let Al slam you and this and that," and I'm like, "I'm 500 pounds. Al ain't gonna slam me, you know." I'm like, okay, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
And but that didn't happen. They tell me, no, don't take a slam. Ever take a slam. I'm like, okay. Well, Gary just told me I'm taking a slam. And Kim Mantell was running everything. And he said, no, you're not taking a slam. Don't I guess they had problems or something. Gary and Ken and actually my first night that same night, Missing Link and Gary Hart were in the back fighting with straight razors.
What? Oh, God.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
So I walk in and they both got straight razors out. I'm like, what the heck? Yeah, they hated each other, man.
Oh,
It
that's
was
crazy.
yeah, it was crazy. People probably don't talk about that part, but yeah, it was pretty crazy. Missing Link, he was a character, but
Yeah.
yeah, those two were in the back and had their knives out. I'm like, oh boy, this should be fun.
How did that wind up?
Yeah, they broke it up. I mean, but yeah, it was. They Gary and Al left right after that. So
Yeah.
but yeah, it was great. Do y'all get what wrestling do y'all get there in Ireland?
Well, we get everything from the States. We like with the internet and everything now. I mean, everything's online, so you get everything. But like back before that, really got there. WWF and WCW were the main things, and I think there was kind of avenues. Like I started watching in 1993, so
Oh,
yeah, so I think in the 80s there was ways of getting like Jim Crockett promotions over here and everything, but like with the WWE network and everything online, like I've been going back watching a lot of World Class and um, some of the St. Louis stuff, Mid South, and that kind of stuff as well. Like so, I watch kind of a blend of everything and the stuff that's on today.
yeah. Did you have you ever looked up the UFC?
Oh
Or
yeah,
you
yeah, yeah. I like UFC as well. Yeah, definitely.
or the Universal Wrestling when Bill Watts?
Yes, yeah, no, yeah, that's what I was referring to with Mid South. Yeah, I love Watts and stuff. Did,
Oh
did you
my
work?
God!
Did you do any shots in that territory?
No, they tried. The guy that trained me was Tom Jones, Mister Ebony,
Oh, okay.
and he kept telling Kim Mantell uh, before they broke up. Mid South was uh, uh, broken up or whatever. My guy that trained me, Tom Jones, was kept telling Kim Mantell, "Hey, I got a 500-pound guy that can drop kick," and they were like, "Nah, I can't believe that. So I never got a shot there, but I worked a few shows with NWA against Murdoch and Slater.
Yeah,
Those guys were great. Just two old school guys and funny and was great. Those guys were great. But
yeah. Dick Murdoch really lived it, didn't he?
oh my God, he had a deal with Coors Beer.
What? Oh man, that's
Yeah,
awesome.
and only thing he did was go to the small town rodeos, promote Coors Beer, and drink. And that's all he did, man. It was a great thing for him, just an old redneck,
Definitely.
but but yeah, we I worked with them, and but when I first got to Dallas, uh, I I threw that drop kick, and uh, so Ken Mantell was in the back, and they said, did you just see what I saw? Or they just couldn't believe that, man. But yeah, that that was a good territory. It would have been good, but it's just too much. I guess when Jarrett came in and all that, the political stuff, if
Hmm.
you could keep that out of wrestling, it'd be great. But you can't. It's
Yeah,
like
that's something that just never changes, really, isn't it?
no, it don't. It don't. It's just the way it is, man. Everybody's connected, family. If you don't have a family member, it's really even tougher to get in. It's just
Definitely.
almost impossible.
What was Fritz like to work with? And what was your relationship like with the Von Erich family?
I had a good relationship with Kevin and Carrie. Uh, they always talk to me, or work let me work however I wanted to, or but well, Kevin, I worked several shows with Kevin, and um, you know Kerry was so over in Dallas. I don't know if you've ever heard very many stories.
Oh, yeah, I've heard a few.
Well, I mean, they were like he was late to a show, like going to the sportatorium on Friday nights. So he called Denton County Sheriff's office and told him he was going to be late, and could they said, we'll have a car out to your house in a few minutes, and they escorted him all the way to Dallas County to the sportatorium with lights.
That's
So
crazy.
that's how that's how over
Over they
those.
were.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's just that's how much people love them, in Texas. It was just crazy. It's such a tragedy, that however that ended up,
Yeah, it
and
really is.
yeah, but they were great guys, just heads weren't screwed on right till later. Like, they did.
Yeah.
I don't know if you ever seen they had all the ESPN classics of world class on ESPN. Those guys were
Um, yeah.
those guys were making money, man, and ended up with almost nothing. That's a tragic story.
Yeah, it really is. It really
Yeah,
is. I mean, like that territory could still be going today if everything had if they'd kind of kept everything straight.
it could have. Yeah, because what that little hole in the wall there, man. It would just had such a atmosphere about it. There just was no other place like it in the world. I mean, not, I mean, I guess if you're from Tennessee, you say the same thing about Mid-South Coliseum,
Mm.
but if you talked about Texas, you said the Sportatorium. So it was just a great function on Friday nights there. It was either, very, very cold or very, very hot in there. And there was no air conditioning, no nothing. It was basically a tin building and set up for an arena. And that was it, It was
Yeah.
unbelievable. But yeah, I never really got to because the old man was gone basically, except for a few times he would come in and out. But mostly he, I don't know if it was the age or his age or whatever it was, but he was pretty much out of the picture in the very late 80s, 86, 87 when I was there. he didn't come around that much. They tried to do that angle one more time with when Iceman beat him up and the Freebirds once again, but it kind of worked. But people were looking for, I guess, new. They were actually trying to use that school to work the new talent with the old talent,
Mm-hmm.
and somehow that it started working, but then politics took over the thing, and back to the same old thing, and so that's how that goes, man. But yeah, I
And
was.
just a few other names from that territory, just before we move on from world class. Dingo Warrior, Ultimate Warrior. He was a pretty big name during that time there as well. Did you get to work with him, or any interactions that you had with him back then?
No, he was gone already. The people I got to work with was the Michael Hayes and Terry Gordy, uh,
Oh.
Al Perez, uh, let's see, Eric Embry, Lawler. Uh, we did some with Mr. Perfect, some
Oh
stuff with him. Worked with Undertaker, Mick Foley. Who else was there? Austin was there. The Patriot,
oh
Dale
wow.
Wilkes,
Yeah, I had him on before. He's an absolutely great guy.
Sid Vicious. I don't know if you ever had Sid Vicious was there. Uh, Mr. T was there.
Oh
Uh,
wow, Mr. T. Did you
yeah,
interact with
yeah,
him much?
yeah. Mr. T. Actually, that was like we were all coming back from Kansas City, I think, or something, and he was on the same plane, and Kerry, Kerry was recognized anywhere, So him and he invited Mr. T to Sportatorium, and they did a little thing, and he worked a little bit with Kerry, and they tagged against the Freebirds or something, and that's how that started him. Then he went to New York. Mr. T got the thing in New York, But yeah, he was Kerry was just such an attracting, people to him. It was just
Yeah.
unbelievable. Or even the Freebirds too. You couldn't go anywhere. Those guys were, if you were out with them or whatever, They were just magnets, you know.
Oh yeah, yeah. I've heard
I
this
never,
story.
I thought, man, I've never seen nothing like this, you know. A lot of the old school, you know, people that watched it back when it was very, very hot with Gino and Chris and all them guys, you know, Killer Brooks, and the people were just, you know, wanted to touch them and all that stuff, you know. So
Yeah.
it was pretty great, man, being around those guys. You know, so
And you worked in Puerto Rico as well for Carlos Colon. Were you there when the Bruiser Brody incident went down?
no, I was in the after.
Oh,
I
really?
went, yeah, I was out. I went in after. Uh, Actually, I went there. I had been in Mexico already, and
Okay.
actually, Abdullah is the one that Abdullah the butcher
Hmm.
brought me in there, and everything was pretty good. You know, I just didn't. I couldn't adapt to their. Um, let's see. You know, like they didn't want. It was hard to get around. Uh,
Okay. Yeah, the
yeah,
environment there was pretty crazy, wasn't it? Like
yeah, it
the
was pretty.
fans and stuff were
The
dangerous.
environment was crazy, and then you know, like I guess those guys they didn't know I spoke Spanish, so I learned my Spanish in Mexico, and then I went to Puerto Rico, and like you know they would say, "How come I got to pick up that white guy?" You know, you don't want to. I said, "Man, I told him in Spanish, I'll give you gas money. That ain't a problem, man." I told him in Spanish, and he was Carlos. Carlos knew I spoke Spanish, right? But the guy didn't. So he was trying to say, you know, how come I always got to take these foreigners and this and that? So I started telling him in Spanish, well, you know, I don't mind paying you, man. And he just looked at me like, oh shit, you know. so so, but that was a good. I mean, there was a lot of people. They run an old school. I was there with Okazuna, uh,
Oh.
Samoan SWAT team. Uh, it seemed like everywhere I was, the Samoans would come in, or just the opposite. You know, if they were there, I was coming in, or you know. So I worked a lot with Okazuna. He was great, man.
Yeah, he's meant to be quite. He was meant to be quite the character as well, wasn't he?
Yeah, yeah.
Behind the scenes.
Rodney was great. So Samu and Fatu were also, you know, and
Oh
Tonga
yeah.
kid, the Tonga kid worked with him. Uh, so Fidel Sierra, uh, they were all great, you know. Just Puerto Rico was it was crappy, man. The pay, you know, they'd have a full house. When you get your envelope, you know, you think there's a lot in there, but it's an envelope, you know, like 3, 4, 5 inches thick, and you're like, oh wow, good payday, right? It's all ones. like like you're going to the strip club or something, you know. It's a Puerto Rican payday, man.
Oh man, that's brutal.
So I'm like, I can't live on this, man. So I went back to Mexico, man. Uh, that's my that was my best place, you know.
Yeah, you had a huge run there, and like you worked with all the top stars there as well, and you were super over there. Talk about some of the names. You worked with Chavo Senior. I've seen a good few times Chavo Senior. What was Chavo like to work with?
With who?
Chavo Guerrero Senior.
Oh, Chavo. Wow.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, he was great, man. He helped me a lot. Chavo did. Chavo, you know, he would tell me, "Don't do this and do this here," and hey, you know, he really kind of babysitted me the first few months there. And then, yeah, I worked with Chavo a lot, Eddie, Rey Mysterio. They actually, Ray was like 15 years old when he came in.
Wow.
Yeah, he was like a big, like a tooth. He was like a toothpick. So they put us together, me and him, because I was, so big and he was so small, you know. But
Yeah.
the things he could do, man, were just amazing,
Yeah.
amazing, man. I worked with the Hijo de Santo, Mil Mascaras, Vampiro,
You worked with Conan there as well, didn't you?
Conan. Yeah, I worked with Conan a lot. Uh,
How was he to work with?
I didn't care for working with him.
Really?
No, he he's. I mean, he always seemed to be in the right place at the right time. I mean,
Hmm.
and he really has a good eye for talent, and he's the one that came up with the Max Moon.
Yes. Yeah.
Have you ever talked to him?
No, no, I've never had him on actually. No, not yet.
Yeah, uh, but and he like he was over in Mexico, but he almost crushed the business there, man. They
Really?
did a
Wow.
they did a loser leave Mexico with Perro Aguayo, and this was at the Plaza de Toros in Mexico City,
Hmm.
and there was like almost 75,000 people there. He lost,
Wow.
and then in 2 weeks he wanted to come back to wrestle, man. And the thing about Mexico is if you say you're going to have a top star there, or whatever you say, you better live up to. In other words,
Yeah.
so once they did the swerve on that, man, the people just couldn't. They weren't going to wrestling after that. They just, oh man, it was tough after that. Like for instance, if they said I was coming to a show and I wasn't there at a certain time, the people would start getting nervous and asking the promoter, when is he coming? When is he coming? You know, uh, or for instance, like there was a guy promoting baseball across almost like maybe a mile from where we were. He was promoting Valenzuela, which was a great Mexican pitcher.
Hmm.
He even worked, in L.A. and for Major League, and he didn't show up, and they almost burned the stadium down. That's how serious they take stuff over there, man.
Yeah. That's amazing.
So, but once they were lied to like that, man, it was tough. The business was really tough after that. But we and then when they split, went to AAA and all that, it was pretty miserable there too. So because they were trying to steal all the talent and back and forth, back and forth. It was pretty crazy, but I had a really good run there. I got there in March of '90, and I pretty much stayed there in and out for 8 years. So you
Wow.
know, yeah, I could not go anywhere I mean, it was just crazy. It's not like when I first got there, they didn't even have guardrails, no security, not. You were on your own. You just walk out. Like we're gonna, me and Conan were at it's Cuatro Caminos. It probably holds about 20,000 people, and some guy was gonna we were all in the back going down the tunnel, and people were standing around, and I had to knock the guy out because he was gonna stab him in the back.
Wow.
Yeah. So
Gosh.
it's kind of crazy there. You gotta watch it.
Because wrestling is kind of like the national pastime over there, really, isn't it? Like that's bigger than any sport or anything in Mexico.
Yeah, it's like right up there with soccer.
Yeah.
As far as the fans, they can be a little crazy. I worked with Blondie there. He was another one that American that come in. He'd been coming in since '86, and but I was in my room. I'd been there for probably about maybe a month, and I didn't even realize there was I kept smelling McDonald's hamburgers. Kept smelling. I'm like, oh, it must be crazy or something. I smell the French fries and Big Macs, and I'm laying in my room. I'm like, man, I must be having a hungry day, or something. I'm like, I'm imagining this stuff, right? So I go open the door, and I can smell it stronger and stronger. I'm walking down to the end of the hall. I didn't even realize there's like a McDonald's 5 minutes from the hotel. And these guys are all eating their Big Macs, and I'm like, where'd you get that? They said, yeah, 5 minutes in the taxi, man. They have a 2-story McDonald's with 10 cashiers and an armed guard with an Uzi outside. But
wow.
yeah, that's how I met Blondie. Him and they were called the LA Police. And he brought those guys in. There were 2 twin brothers, and if you seen the movie Ocean's 11,
Yeah.
okay, you know those 2 twins in that movie?
Twins.
Yeah.
Oh man. I can't remember. It's been
Well,
ages since I've seen it.
Well, there's 2 twin guys in that movie, and those were the LA Police. And we
Oh wow.
yeah, we had a run. Me and Liz Mark and Rayo de Jalisco. We were in Acapulco, and so the territory was kind of down. Nobody was no. They didn't have any fans in Acapulco, so we did a thing where those guys handcuff us to the ropes, beat the living crap out of us, and got blood everywhere. They actually called Mexico in the '90s the bloodiest times in Mexican lucha history,
Wow.
wrestling history. Yeah, I mean,
and it was pretty bloody back in the Gory Guerrero days as well. So that's a pretty big statement, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, guys were walking around with. Well, I don't know if you've ever seen some of those guys. Their arms, their chins, their foreheads, they're all whacked up, man.
Yeah.
But So the next week we came back. The place is sold out. We did this almost the same thing. And then the third week we come back. I'm working with one of the police, and I'm telling him the guy in back of me was a fan, right? And he's telling me, move out of the way so I can shoot him. And I'm telling the
Whoa.
guy, I'm telling one of the cops, I'm telling him, get back to the dressing room. And he's like, why? And I said, get back. This guy, if I wasn't standing in the way, he's gonna shoot you. He's like, oh, what? What? And I'm like, yeah, run to the back, because this guy, he's like moving his gun like that, but he can't shoot around me because I'm so big, And
Yeah.
he's just, I'm like, please, I don't want to get shot in the back, It's bad enough with the flying coconuts, man. You're in a hot territory. The ref's standing there, and a coconut hits him in the side of the head, and he get blood everywhere, and people are about to riot, and it was crazy, man. Yeah,
And you had a big tag team in Mexico as well with Mike Shaw.
with
That
Mike Shaw, yeah,
yeah. He later went on to be Baston Booger
yeah,
in
yeah,
WWE. Talk about him and your success as a tag team.
yeah. He was. I actually told the owner of Paco Alonso that, how about we bring in a guy like me, and we'll have a brother. And so we did that, and that the people liked that, and uh, but he wasn't a people. You have to be a people person there, because like I say, if you go out to eat, or you go just walk out from your hotel into the street, man, people are stopping and touching you, or sign autographs, or just want to talk, and they don't care if you don't know any Spanish. They'll just keep talking to you.
Yeah.
You're like, I don't understand. I don't care. I'm still talking. So he wasn't really a people person, but the gimmick, the two of us, we got over. I mean, we were drawing, between, in a small arena, 6,000-7,000 people at a time, man. So
Wow.
no matter, we worked with Los Dinamita, the Dynamite Brothers, and man, anywhere we went, it just would get over, And I actually, in Monterey, we had like a, it was more like a four, it was a tag, but the last guys had to fight each other. It was me, him, Vampiro against two bad guys, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And so we were working, and whoever lost got their hair cut. So I ended up pinning him and cutting his hair in Monterey.
Wow.
Yeah. So it was kind of crazy. It was crazy, but like Monterey, you could. Every time we went to Monterey, 30,000 people. It, the territory was so hot then. Uh, sometimes Sundays, we would work 5 shows.
Wow.
And you're working 2 out of 3 matches every show, So it was even, and once a month, we would go from like the tip of Mexico, Merida, and then do a show at 1 in the afternoon there, and then go to Mexico City and do a show at 5 o'clock. Or, well, we'd get there to do it like by 7, and then we'd just go straight to the airport Don't change, don't nothing. Get on the plane and fly to Monterey, which is all the way to almost to Texas. So you were going from one end to the other in one day, and then work that. You start at 6 in the morning and get done about 10 at night.
God, it's
And
crazy.
yeah, it was just one of the hottest places I ever seen, man. It was 250 guys working 60 different arenas a week.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's amazing.
it was crazy, man.
And Vampiro was a very big name in Mexico in those days as well, wasn't he? What was Vampiro like to work with?
Who was it?
Vampiro.
Oh, Vampiro, great. Oh man, he like we drew the kids, and he drew the women. I mean,
Yeah.
unbelievable, man. How many the girls? I mean, if you could have just thumped him with your pinky, and the girls would have started screaming, dude. It was crazy. I mean,
easy work.
Oh my God, it was. Yeah, I was like, yeah, just stay in, Vampiro. Just stay in. Yeah, it was crazy, man. He was so over with that vampire gimmick, I mean, he couldn't. They would, just walking down the aisle, man, they would pull his braids out just to, it was crazy.
Yeah.
Well, I had just got there and was working, and he showed up from Canada, and they told him, you're going to have to go up to the gym and start working, or you're not going to work here. And they didn't pay him. He didn't have a place to live. None of that. So he started going up there and working out every day. And I came back and I left in 91. I had immigration problems. And when I come back in 92, man, he was on fire, man. I mean, it was unbelievable. There was row after row after row of girls. Just girls, man.
Wow.
And screaming. And I'm like, Jesus Christ, man. This is, throwing their panties. Really. Yeah, I mean, you could sit,
Wow.
like you'd be on the side of the ring post and you could see them and throw them. I'm like,
That's
oh my
crazy.
God, did you see that? I'm like, oh my, yeah, it was just crazy. Yeah,
Different times.
yeah, like, me and another guy are working with him, and so we're working against the Dynamite Brothers, and so the girl in the very front row tosses her panties up there, and the Ryo tells the guy, throw me out. So he throws him out. He slides under the ring, out, and his head goes right under that girl's dress. The guy jumps down, starts hitting him. His head's still under her dress. And they're just fighting, and this girl's trying to get up, and she got no panties on, no nothing.
Oh, I suppose it was just a matter of time before somebody did that, like with this the women throwing those in, like.
Yeah. I mean, it was just a crazy, crazy time there, man.
Wow.
Unbelievable. But
That's crazy.
yeah, it was great.
But just going backwards for a bit, our mutual friend Chris Whaley, the Mass Saint, What are your memories of working with him and spending time with him back in it was Texas he worked in, wasn't it?
Yeah, in Texas, we worked
Yeah.
Dallas. Well, actually, they sent us to Mississippi, and so he says, well, like the day before we're gonna go or something, he tells his wife, I'm gonna bring he's gonna bring me home, and so he tells his wife, I'm gonna bring this guy home, and she says, okay, well, you know, we're not making hardly any money, and so I walk in the door, and she says, honey, I only have one can of tuna. So, I mean, we're there. I'm like, one can of tuna. And, Chris is like, oh my God, how are we going to feed this guy? So, we went to Mississippi. And so I don't know if you know how the bridge in Mississippi that goes across the Mississippi. It's like
No, not
the
really.
widest river in America. Okay, so it's
Okay.
probably 4 miles across that bridge.
Wow.
So I noticed Chris is got the steering wheel like he's white knuckled, and we're in the middle of this bridge, and I said, "What's the matter with you?" And he says, "Well, I forgot to tell you that I'm claustrophobic. This bridge is like a cage, you know." And he's
Oh
driving
man.
my pickup, and I said, "Why?" And it's very trafficy with tractor trailers, so they got him boxed in the tractor trailers, like in a sandwich, and
Yeah.
his knuckles are like as white as a sheet, man. And I'm like, dude, you should have told me. We could have stopped and traded. It's not the time for you to tell me you're claustrophobic on the Mississippi Bridge. But he's a great guy to travel with. It's just amazing, amazing guy. He wrote a few books and had the ministry, and one thing about traveling with him, you don't have to worry about is he going to come home drunk or
Yeah.
all that. It's pretty straight laced with him. It's but he's been a friend since the '80s, and I guess I kind of lost connection with a lot of guys, but with Facebook and all that, you kind of reconnect and get to know each other again. And so, but he was fun. We spent about 6 or 8 days on the road, and uh, making all these little towns. And uh, I I didn't even know he had wrote a book until when I was at the store and I seen The Saint, and I'm like, The Saint. I think I worked with him. Try looking him up, and so we've been communicating a few times. But yeah, How did you get a hold of him?
Well, I'd seen they made a movie based off of the book about his life as well, and
Yeah.
I was a huge fan of the movie, and so like I found him on Facebook as well. So
Oh yeah.
I contacted him through Facebook for an interview before, and that's kind of how we hooked up, and we've been in touch. And I
Oh
helped him
wow.
with a few things with promoting his book. Then
Yeah.
his latest book, the Christmas book, Harold's
Yeah.
Heavenly Christmas. You can all get that on Amazon.
Yeah.
A little
Hey,
plug for him.
Amazon. Yeah. What can't
So
you get on Amazon?
really, really, really good guy.
Yeah. 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 I'm glad for him. He's worked hard, and you know, I don't know if you ever saw the movie The Wrestler.
Oh yeah, yeah,
I mean, that movie depicts the life of a guy in the business better than anybody anybody could have, you know. Well, you know, I don't know if you know Andrew Anders? He was in
And
that movie.
the name rings a bell. I'm,
Yeah, he's on.
oh yeah, he's the blonde guy, isn't he?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, I know.
yeah. He would be. I'll try and get him hooked up with you because he still does a lot of acting and stuff, and he's a great interview too, man.
Really?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I
He's
think he
still.
worked in like ECW and stuff. I think.
Yeah, yeah. He worked ECW, and he's still working at independent shows and stuff like that. Uh, so it's pretty good, man. So what's going on in y'all's? How's the COVID over there?
It's our restrictions are just kind of starting to ease now a little bit. I mean, we've a 5 kilometer restriction here on travel, like so. Like the cases, I mean, our population is relatively small, like it's pretty small country. So, but the cases, in proximity to our population, were pretty high. Like so, the restrictions have been pretty rough. It's been very
Oh,
restrictive here, but they're starting to ease it within the next couple of weeks. Anyway, there's a little bit more leeway with the travel and stuff, but yeah, it's been pretty rough over the last year. What were things? What part of America are you based in actually at the moment?
I'm in Texas. I'm in San Antonio.
Oh, it's eased up a bit in Texas, hasn't it?
Yeah, the governor here is like we got to open,
Yeah,
so they kind of opened it up pretty much. Like for like churches this weekend because it's Easter Sunday. They're letting people go back to church, and restaurants are at 75%, and cases are going down. They're still pushing the vaccine, uh, but they get a supply and they run out, and it's just trying to get hooked up with a vaccine. Uh, they're probably going to make it mandatory if you want to fly.
yeah.
Uh,
Kind of looks
yeah,
that way. Yeah, the vaccine has been very slow over here as well, very slow. So I don't know. That's part of why the restrictions have been so heavy here as well. In the last couple of weeks, there hasn't really been that much of an ease because the vaccine rollout has just been terrible in comparison. Like with England, they've a
uh-huh.
they've a big majority of the country vaccinated already, whereas here, I don't know, politicians just they're ridiculous.
uh, well, so England is they've ramped it up the vaccine. Yeah, I mean they're getting yeah. Well, they had a horrible time with it.
Yeah, they did.
You know.
Yeah, they got hit with it pretty heavy, and yeah, so they've been pretty efficient with the vaccine. I'd say about 3/4 of the country already is vaccinated. That I don't know, that might be exaggerating a little, but they're hoping to have nearly the whole country vaccinated by September or so. So yeah, they're way ahead of us here, and we're a
Yeah.
way smaller country. Like
Well,
so,
well,
it's just
they're trying to get everybody here by May. So, but I don't
wow.
know. There's a lot of there's a lot of people here that say I'm not taking it, but you know they're going to have to if they want to go somewhere.
Yeah,
You
it's
know.
kind of it's kind of tricky, isn't it? Like because it's so new and it's kind of hard to know what to do on it.
Yeah, I know. I mean, uh, I don't even want to take the flu shot, much less that. But
Mm.
I still like to travel to Mexico because I still have know a lot of people there. I know more people there than I do here,
Wow.
which is pretty sad. But I try to go back every year, and we do like a Comic Cons and stuff.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, they really got hit hard over there, and they've lost. I guess last year they lost probably 60 guys to
Really?
COVID.
Wow.
Yeah, 60 guys, man. That in some way or another, I worked with them or something.
That's rough.
Yeah, and then even the new year started off with there was 4 deaths within the first month of January, and
Yeah.
it seems like every week somebody I know is they're gone. It's really just sad. But they're like a third world country, so the rollout over there, who knows?
Yeah.
Wear your mask. So, so I don't know what's going to happen over there.
It's
But
funny
there's
because I seen an article there recently that wrestlers actually over there were helping like enforce people having to wear the masks in like
they're doing
supermarkets and stuff.
commercials. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah. They're doing wear your mask, and they got mask on, and stuff like that. It's pretty wild. They use they like when I was there, they did a drug campaign, uh, put the mask on drugs and stuff like that. They always using wrestlers to do something over there, because a lot of people know who they are. It's just
Oh yeah.
the good thing about the mask is that most of those guys, once they take it off and go in plain clothes, you never know they work. You know,
Yeah.
me, I was like an outcast, so um,
Yeah, you
I
couldn't
couldn't
hide.
ID. But yeah, I don't know if you saw some of the photos how big I was.
Oh yeah, I've watched some footage, some of your matches as well.
Oh, okay.
I watched a few from Mexico, and I watched the one with Al Perez from World Class.
Yeah,
And
okay. So
yeah,
I was.
and yeah, you moved amazingly for your size as well. That was one thing that was really apparent watching your work, is like you were incredibly athletic for your size.
Yeah, I played football 4 years and American football 4 years, and when I always been able to do stuff. I never carried my weight like other. You see somebody that weighs that much, usually they can't move, much less walk around.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
So they used to say, well, do you know who Vince Apollo is?
Vince Apollo.
Yeah, he was at World Class, like a manager.
Yeah, the name rings a bell. I'm pretty sure I know him, but I just can't
Yeah,
place
he
him.
he. We traveled a lot, and they sent us to Kansas City, and we stopped at this little country town, and there was 2 old guys sitting there, and I said, I'll pump the gas and you go in. And so these 2 old farmers were on the porch, and they stopped him and they said, hey, young man, we just want to know how you get that guy in the car. And he says, sir, I grease the sides and throw in a Twinkie, and he slides right in. No, those 2 old men were like, they were laughing and laughing. I'm like, what the hell are y'all talking about up there? And he said, you. I said, well, what they say? And he says, he started telling me, yeah, they want to know how in the hell I get you in the car. And I told him I grease the door handles and slide in a Twinkie. you know, it was crazy, man. we drove a lot together. We probably drove 2,000 miles a week, man, in Kansas City.
Wow.
Yeah,
Gosh, that's mad.
yeah. He he got the girls and I did the laundry. But we always had a place to stay and food to eat, I said, I don't care, man, So, but yeah, it was great, man. My
Good.
time was, I never got to New York or nothing like that, but I had a good run over in Mexico, and so some guys never make it that far, so.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. And
Yeah,
like you went through world class and everything, and yeah, you were super over in Mexico. So yeah, you blazed a trail in the business for
yeah,
sure.
yeah.
And just before we sign off, is there a favorite match or favorite moment that you have in your career that really sticks out as a defining moment in your career?
Um, I, just uh, I had the people remember me as over there as with a hair match that I had, and then I worked for the world heavyweight belt there against Blondie, and that match was. I never been in a match that made you feel uh, like 1 minute. It was such a good match. People like over there when you have a great match, people throw money.
Wow, I did
Yeah,
not know that. Wow,
yeah.
that's
And I don't
that's
know if
cool.
you ever seen a Mexican coin, but they can put your eye out because
Oh,
they're
really?
yeah they're so heavy and uh, but anyway we had this match for the belt and I didn't win, but the match that we had was so up and down. I told him after the match, I said, I don't know why, I want to 1 minute want to cry and 1 minute want to laugh. The it was so hard to get the adrenaline out of your system after the match. Like it was like the greatest high. Um, for me. And then he said, "Yeah, I understand. I've been there several times, but you'll never be able to repeat that. It's something you can't even explain to people. How it'd be like the greatest. It'd be like you catching your first fish. You know,
Yeah.
as a little kid. Oh my God. But yeah, that working with him and working with Eddie and Chavo and all those guys, man, it's just something that'll never uh, you can never forget, and hopefully, and people still, to this day, it's almost been 30 years, and people, I got like 4,000 people, and most of them are from over there. Uh, they were 10 years old. Now they're, in their late 30s, and they're like, I can tell you about a match you had. And I'm like, oh my God, I don't even remember that.
Yeah.
It's just, that to me is an incredible thing that you touch somebody that was 10 years old that way, and they still remember it 30 years later, you know. So that to me is the ultimate. That's better than any match. If I got into wrestling because of you, or I had a guy tell me the first time I went back to Mexico, he said, I knew I couldn't wrestle, but I became a reporter for wrestling because of you. I mean,
Oh,
how do you
wow.
top that?
Yeah, that's
Or
amazing.
you know, so you never know. Guys never know how much they affect somebody else, even as a kid,
Mm.
And so that's people telling you those kind of stories. Uh, you can't ask for anything greater than that, man. It's just that's how I feel about that. That's better than a match. To find out years later that you affected somebody's life that way, in a positive way. So that's the greatest thing I accomplished. So
Yeah,
you know,
that's awesome.
yeah, it is awesome, man. I just think about Undertaker or somebody like that, how they affected kids, or just one guy, just one person that did. Oh, I'm going to change or whatever. You know that that's what people miss. Uh, that's the real story behind wrestling. What lives have they affected as a kid? As you're working, some kid sees you and changes their life. So that, and you'll never know unless you hear the story.
Yeah.
You know, but yeah, that's how I look at things. So, but
Yeah, that's. I think that's the perfect note to end things on, and I want to thank you so much for coming on. It's been absolutely awesome chatting with you, and
well, thanks,
yeah,
man. I appreciate you hooking me up from
thanks
the
so
other.
much, buddy.
All right, man.
We'll
Thanks a
talk
lot.
again soon.
All right, have a great night and call me anytime, man.
Thank you for tuning into Pro Wrestling Defined on YouTube. Please like the video if you enjoyed it, and subscribe to the YouTube channel to keep up with all future content. And please follow Pro Wrestling Defined on Twitter, Instagram, and like us on Facebook.